and welcome to this week's edition of What's the Word in association with Ladbrokes, joined by Shane Mann from Responsible Ladbrokes, Dukey's in midfield, and Johnny beside me as always. All okay? He survived the storm?
Just about.
Just about.
As Johnny he's looking down.
It was. I didn't notice it. I was asleep. Actually.
Yeah, I know. A few leaves and a piece of garden furniture fell over.
Pretty miserable out there now, though. The land needs rain, though.
The land needs rain.
A lot of these horses need soft ground. We need.
Good to firm for Punchestown next week.
We desperately need a good 2 weeks of rain, like.
Really the joy. Anyway, the summer, as Johnny has reminded us, is over. But Dukey, you are a paddock watcher of note, and you brought in your paddock watcher's notebook with us this afternoon. So, we're nearly done with flat racing for the year. Obviously, we have the Dewhurst and the Champion Stakes still to come. But we're done. We're done for all intents and purposes. Give us 3 paddock horses you're really excited for next year. That not Quarto or 10 Sovereigns or anything like that. We know about them.
Yeah, well, actually, it's quite Pilltown centric. The first one is Dramatize.
Yes.
3-year-old filly, evidently slow to come to hand because she didn't make her debut till a couple of weeks ago in Fairyhouse. 50-1, good-looking daughter of Inticab, but still looked backward in the parade ring. Had a terrible draw. Loop and swoop job, just came winging down the outside. Quite impressive. Wouldn't shock you if she made up into a stakes filly.
Jamie said
Did you hear
she reminded her of
Found.
Oh, really?
Post race, yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's probably gone a bit strong.
Actually, and Joseph's horse was third, no looking running, and bolted up a court.
He did. Unfortunately, I backed Joseph's horse in Fairyhouse. But
As did I.
We won't talk
Okay,
about
that's number 1, Dramatize, yeah.
Number 2 is a horse called Waikaku. Evidently another horse who's had problems, trained by John Ox, only ran once as a 2-year-old before making his 3-year-old debut in Leopardstown in July. Looked an absolute weapon, serious engine on him, but hasn't run since and has been gelded in the interim. So obviously John Ox has his work cut out there, but he's got skills.
Yes.
So if he can keep the horse sound, I think he could have a good 4-year-old campaign. Wouldn't shock me were he a stakes horse either.
Okie doke.
And finally, Tom, if you will indulge me, the reignition of an old flame.
Oh yeah.
None other than Iridessa.
Oh, of course.
Okay, so she didn't really go on from Killarney the way I hoped she would, but she still ran well the last day in Leopardstown from a tough draw. Loaded middle distance pedigree, loads of scope. When she gets middle distance next year, I think she'll definitely. She is a stakes filly, but I mean, wouldn't shock me if she turned into something like an Irish Oaks filly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, the Irish Oaks tends to be won by those sort of types, doesn't it? They just kind of get them, win the Irish Oaks, and then never see them again.
Well, yeah, well, possibly, but she'll do for me.
Good stuff. All right, Johnny, you're looking forward, and we're going to give us 3 National Hunt runs. Now, again, no one wants to hear about Sam Coe. In fact, I'm thinking of banning him from the show. There's so much chat about him. But a couple of
really, it's been pretty quiet on the Sam Coe. All we know is he's going to run him down Royal.
No, Sam Coe talk.
Where would you go, hurling or chasing?
No, you're bad.
Okay. 3 unexposed National Hunt horses.
One of them we haven't really seen, Animix. I'm getting fairly good vibes about him. He was about 7 or 8 to 1 for the Supreme last year.
He was near enough the top of the betting at the time.
Yeah, he's 20 to 1 now or thereabouts, despite the fact that there's nothing wrong with him. And
he's grown a year.
He's grown a year, and as well as that, the bumper horses last year, Relegate won the champion bumper. She was a filly. Like, I don't think she's outstanding necessarily. I don't think the bumper horse was that good. He looks a good bet for the Supreme. And obviously there was a lot of talk about him. He does nice bits of work in Close Sutton. Another Close Sutton horse is Saldier. Obviously we know about him. He's a Grade 1 winner, but he's still a huge prize to win the Champion Hurdle for no reason to me. I thought he was brilliant when he won at Punchestown. He was just gradually getting there over hurdles, and he was seriously good on the flat. Like, he's just a good horse, and he's in the right hands. 5-year-olds wouldn't have a great record in the Champion Hurdle, but
25 to 1 at the minute.
Yeah. I can't see what race he'll go for otherwise. Now the problem is the aforementioned Sam Coe could run in the Champion Hurdle, which you don't necessarily want. So they are 2. My other one is maybe a little bit left field. Active Force, trained by Noel Meade. Ran a blinder on debut at Leopardstown, when quite well fancied for Jigginstown. And then he finished second to Santa Simone in Kilbeggan, when probably not right. And she looks a very good filly. She won at Galway during the week. I think he's a lovely prospect for hurdling. And his form probably won't show him into the favourable light, because I think he's very promising.
Good stuff. Right, let's move on to this weekend's action then. And the Dewhurst Group 1 action at Newmarket at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Shane, how do they bet?
Really good renewal this year, Tom. 2 darn hot currently odds on 5-6. Sangarius is in there at 3-1. Anthony Van Dyke 9-2. Advertised at 8-1. We got 22-1 bar. Just a couple of Andy post pointers as well for next season. For the 2,000 guineas, we go 3-1. 2 darn hot. Quarto's in there at 8-1. Advertised at 14-1 for next year's 2,000 guineas.
Okie doke. 3.5 million quid for his brother during the week. Too darn hot here. Is he too short? This is a decent renewal, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's all about the prices, isn't it? I mean, too darn hot does look a really, really serious animal. But at the prices, and Sangarius could be anything at all, but at the prices, Anthony Van Dyke probably has the best bit of form in this race. Mohawk gave it a good boost there last weekend. And I think the better ground will help him. He's the Exceed and Excel on the dam side, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think the better ground will help him. They're going to go a stronger pace than they went in the national stakes. Obviously,
no doubt.
he's got loads of stamina. I think they're going to help him by maybe sending Mohawk up the road, or maybe just making the running with Anthony. But he's 9-2. He's going to have to run a career best. I think he will. That may still not be enough. 9-2 is a fair price to find out, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think at the prices, there's only one bet, and it's the AVD.
Okie doke. What about you, Johnny? You find something else against him? Maybe advertise or something like that?
I agree with that at the prices. Aidan O'Brien, I remember when he was talking after the race behind Quarto, he said he was very, very happy with him. He's crying out for a mile. So obviously he's not going to get a mile here, but it was a solid run. I liked the way he kept on all the way to the line. Quarto, obviously there was a Shores inquiry, which is never going to be thrown out, but his attitude was good, and Aidan's horses are just in incredible form finishing the season. I think Too Darn Hot will probably end up more of a Derby horse, to be honest. Like with his pedigree, he's the Dubawi the Dubawi Derry Me Cross has been unbelievable. I think
Currently 4-1 favourite for the Derby.
Yeah, I'd have more of a Derby horse, and Quarto is a Guineas horse, not the Dubawi. But it's no great surprise that the brother went for that price, because this is just an unbelievably solid line. She's had 4 foals, 3 of them have been either very, very good or top class. Like in terms of her, Lati Dar, I suppose, could be the best one so far. But at the prices, like, he doesn't have the form necessarily that AVD has, and AVD is probably Aidan's best 2-year-old bar 10 sovereigns.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just have him at the prices, and obviously Sangarius is a fascinating runner as well, a big one for Kingman. But yeah, at the prices, I think he'll run a big race.
All right, let's move on to something more straightforward then. Cesarewitch at 340. Shane, how did they bet in this?
6-1 the field, Tom. Stratham in there, 6-1 favourite. 8-1 Southern France. 9-1 we go about Limini for Willie Mullins, who has a rake of runners in here. Lawson 12-1, Yordell 12-1, VAV 12-1, Cleonte 12-1, 14's bar. And a reminder as well, we're 7 places each way from opening hours early on Saturday morning each way. 7
places. Yeah. That's one to get stuck into. What about you, Jukey? Here, are you looking up near the top? Do you think this is Willie Mullins, or are you going to look at Sylvester de Souza as well? 3 times he's won this race since 2013.
I'm looking up the top, and I'm looking at Willie Mullins. Can I have 2?
Yeah. Well, you're at 7 places. Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
absolutely.
35 runners, 7 places. So the first one is Southern France, who I think should be favourite. He's improved all season. I think he'll improve for the step up and trip. I didn't think he actually had the greatest trip in Doncaster. He was a bit wide. It didn't make any difference what have you. But third in the ledger, I mean, that's Group 1 form coming in here. The £10 3-year-old allowance, I think, is over generous. I think he should be favoured, and he's not. So he's a bet. And I have to have something on this Uradell, just because the form of that amateur race in Galway is just scandalous.
An awful lot higher though, isn't he? Like 13, 14.
Yeah, but I mean, he's beaten Limini, who's since gone in off a £10 higher mark. It was a bit of furlong back to the third. He's since fallen over hurdles and just had a hunt around Bellewstown. For probably lucky he's allowed running this, to be honest with you, after Bellewstown. But anyway, he is. And again, he's a price 7 places, about 16-1.
Yeah, good stuff. Johnny, what about you?
Big words about the Bellewstown race, won by an Aidan O'Brien improver. I think it's a horrible race, to be honest. A lot of the fancied horses are drawn very high, and I think that's worrying for them. You'd need the 7 places. I'm going to go with Lightning Spear, Harvey Martin's horse. You know, he ran a blinder in the trial.
Yeah, well, that trial was a ludicrous race, because the front yoke was 35 lengths clear at the
absolutely.
half mile.
Gave vain pursuit, but ran a solid race. Wasn't beaten far in this race, I think, 2 years ago.
And what a horse, by the way.
He's
won over 120 grand in prize money. Like
he's not that old either. You'd think he's older, and I think he's run about 35 times. But John Egan, obviously a veteran rider, and like Harvey has had a very, very quiet sort of year or two even. His jump strike rate is very, very poor.
Well, you say that, but he had a Group 1 winner last year in Italy, and he had the third in the Gold Cup in Annabelle Fly, and that's still, and people still talk him down.
Annabelle Fly was one of his jumps winners last year, but his strike rate was 2%, I think, in the season. I think, you know, he's obviously selling his yard, and I think things will improve for him. But this horse is about 25 to 1, and I think it'll run well. It has a nice draw as well, and it's fairly straightforward, and does go well around Newmarket.
Just briefly as well, those are bigger prices. In the last 10 renewals, there's been 2 50 to 1 winners and 2 66 to 1 winners in the last 10 years. So don't be afraid of a price.
Yeah, looking at favourites, right? So there's been like 3 winning favourites recently. You have to go back to 1992 before those 3 recent favourites. You know what that was?
92.
92.
I was
Give you a
9
clue,
years
he
of
was a
age
stair
and
with
had no
speed.
interest in racing. Like Vinnie Rowe or something mad.
Vintage crop.
Vintage crop, yeah. Vinnie Rowe was a little bit after that.
Right, let's move on to the rest of Saturday's action. Any other bets for you over the course of the Saturday cards, Johnny?
No, although Tony Martin's horse, the handicap hurdler that runs in Fairyhouse, Davy Russell rides this, won last time at Roscommon. Forget its name, but I think it has a very, very good chance in a moderate race.
Okie doke. Do you get anything else for you on Saturday?
Well, do keep an eye on this 225, the Autumn Stakes, Autumn, the season of mist and mellow fruitfulness. And of course, if you can put up a race like this, what have you got here? You've got Persian King. Andre Favre's best 2-year-old, getting a cider of Newmarket with the guineas in mind. You've got a 700 grand scat daddy called Kadir, who runs for Carl Burke.
Yeah,
he looks to be
who beat Volstein last time out on debut.
Yes, who's favourite for Zetland.
Yeah.
So he looks well bought at 700 grand. And you have the lesser spotted Aidan O'Brien 2-year-old debutante winner. Now, beat a field of other newcomers at Nace, but beat them hollow.
Yeah.
And it was a Nace maiden with all the top stables represented. So
that's the Invincible Magna Grecia, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a specimen as well.
Oh,
Invincible Spirit.
Great. Okay. Well, so he's very interesting as well. So whatever wins that will be up at the near the top of the market for the guineas.
Yeah, definitely a race to note. Right, let's move on to Sunday's action then. And of course, looking forward to Sunday. We've got kind of a mixed bag here because we've got the Irish Irish at Navan, we've got the Munster National, and we've got the Persian War at Chepstow. So we'll start with the Cesarewitch, and Dukey, start with you on the Cesarewitch at Navan, 4:25.
Well, the significant thing for any Navan punters is that from 7 o'clock this morning there is going to be between 20 and 40 millimetres of rain falling.
It's currently good to farm, is it? Good?
Yeah, but
it
won't
but
be.
it won't be good Sunday, no.
I mean, if 20 falls, it'll be soft. If 40 falls, it'll nearly be heavy.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind. And the one that jumps off the page is this New Cross after his effort in Galway when he was desperately unlucky behind Rovetta of Jessica Harrington. He should have won that day. He's only at 6 runs. They get the boy Sheehy to take £5 off as well. He looks the obvious one. And David's Charm looks like he should be well handicapped.
I fancy him as well, around 12 to 1.
That looks a fair price. I think I'll probably back both of those.
Okay, look, Johnny, you fancy anything in the Irish Cesarewitch?
I do. I fancy Shell Car, who obviously ran in the race that Dukey mentioned there in Galway, the old GPT on the Monday night, and just I can't remember what was wrong, but something was wrong. He never went a yard. He was sent off 9-2, much shorter than Uradale. The boy CT Keane takes the ride. What a man to have on your side. Again, like Willie is Nesson, Dorma, Sharjah, Mackie Torix, and obviously the aforementioned. And I think Shellcar's probably well handicapped. He was a brilliant run at Ascot before that when he was actually sent off favourite. And I think probably the trip stretched him a bit. His runs in France have been over an extended mile, and Willie steps up to 2.5 miles. But he's a very interesting horse. There are a few in the race that I would be afraid of, and I think Brex Drago is interesting in the sense of just the improvement of he has over hurdles, and he's clearly saving something for himself. So he's not a horse to kind of to necessarily get badly handicapped. And Cliffs of Dooneen is still interesting as well. I think this is a cracking race. It's a better betting race than the Newmarket race, and it's Tour General is the horse of Harvey's. I couldn't think of the name of on Saturday.
Good stuff. Right, let's move on to this is going to excite our producer as well. The Munster National at Limerick. Look, he's been asleep all summer, and now he's loving life. Anyway, the Munster National on Sunday. Shane from Limerick. Give us some
for
prices.
this year's renewal of the Ladbrokes Munster National at home, we go 4-1 by Black Scorpion. Rogue Angel is in there at 11-2, 15-2. Alpha de Zobo, I should mention, at 7-1. It's then 10-1. It's all guesswork. 10-1 Spider Evan, 12-1 Bar.
Quick selection here from you, Duke, because I know you've no interest.
I would go for Alpha de Zobo, who's the class of the race, and he had an impossible task last year and finished in second. Repeated that, should go very close, but this Our Father's completely
Now with Gordon Elliott as well, actually.
Two Gordon Elliott debutant. Our Father, after 3 years off the track, rated 130. This will be some training performance.
10 stone, you know, and it's what a fascinating runner. Like, was he 12 years of age, you know, named after, you know, a prominent kind of prayer that some of us probably have forgotten.
We reach to now and again when
I always found when I prayed for, I needed something to win, it just didn't happen. I like consistently did not happen. I like it's all guesswork. I think you're looking at a race like this. What's not like handicap chases at this level for me are horrible races to bet in. It's all to do with luck and running, and very few horses have much in hand. But this horse is unexposed. He was well backed at Navan last time. He didn't have much to beat. Henry de Ramon's horse bombed, but he's a lovely, lovely jumper by Mahler. He will give his running. I think he'll stay the trip. A lot of these look either that the ground isn't probably right for them, or the trip is too far. Black Scorpion, obviously, for a producer who's named after the stallion, is by all accounts well fancied. But you know, how will they bet Our Father against It's All Guesswork? It'll be interesting. The boy Mark Enright taking the right. He's had a reasonable summer. Yeah,
he has had a good summer. On the rest of Sunday's action then, we got a couple of listed races at Navan. Should you cast a quick eye over these two listed races at Navan, the 205 and the 350? I left the other one out. It's too bad.
Very kind of you, Tom. Again, it's very concentrating on the likely soft ground. So the 205 Eclipse Storm won on debut in Nace for Fozzie Stack despite doing plenty wrong. Has a pedigree that suggests he'll handle the ground, and I'd expect a deal of improvement for the experience of his debut. And the 350, so it's a fillies race in October on changing ground. So what you want to do here is back something at a price, because this is a bookies race. But Tarnawa ran a lovely race on debut from a dismal draw in Galway. I thought she'd win the next day in Tipperary, and she was beaten at 11-10, so she was disappointing, although the race has worked out pretty well. But it was a bit of a disappointment. I'd say the bookies would be against her. I'll take a chance on her. She'd probably be around 8-1.
Good stuff. Right, Johnny, going to leave you with the two listed races at Limerick then, the 150 and the 3 o'clock. Going quick selections here.
Yeah, Get a Reason obviously was very unlucky not to win at Listowel. Air Supremacy picked up the pieces, and you'd imagine Get a Reason with Ruby in the plate should reverse that form and probably make the run. And Good Time Tara looks to have all of the class really. She was very, very good at Gorn the last day, and you got to look back at that run at Cork when a certain Woodland Opera was second and Arctic Fire was third, and she was brilliant that day as well. She's very, very classy. I'm not sure why she drifted at Gorn, especially on the exchanges before the off. She was quite weak, but she bolted up. Should win.
Good stuff. Right, let's move on to the best bets of the weekend. Reminder, of course, Ladbrokes got best odds guaranteed in shops from 12 till 2 every day. Shane, we'll start with you. Best bets of the weekend, and give us a multiple as well.
Going to agree with Dukey on the Dewhurst. Anthony Van Dyke at 92 looks a decent price. That's going to be my nap of the weekend. In the Cesarewitch, going to put one up at a massive price. Bear in mind the 7 places each way in our shops from first thing Saturday morning. Uber cool. 3 wins out of his last 4 starts, 25-1 currently at an each way price. And for the treble, I am going to throw in the one on Sunday and the Ladbrokes Munster National, Alpha de Zobo, 7-1.
Good stuff. Right, Jiggy, Trixie time.
Yes, Trixie time. I will nap Southern France in the 340, the Cesarewitch. I will put in Anthony Van Dyke in the Dewhurst at 3 o'clock on Saturday as well. And I will also try and pull off the old Saturday-Sunday double, and with the Cesarewitch double at that, New Cross in the 425 at Navan.
Good stuff. All right, Johnny.
I'll give
best bet.
My best bet is going to be actually Lepilly in the 315 at Navan on Sunday. A bit of a question mark about the ground there and the run the last day, but no doubt well handicapped. Shellcar in the Irish Cesarewitch, and if I'm allowed, we'll say we'll put in Tour General on Saturday. I know it's kind of across the weekend treble, but
okay.
Yeah, just keep an eye out on the weather though. It's finally coming that we are getting a bit of rain, and funnily enough, it's not going to get really deep, but it'll get very, very loose on top, and it is a bit of a lottery.
Yeah, it is. Right, my best bet of the weekend is Persian King in the Autumn Stakes at 225. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week with more What's the Win.